last Friday, Hartshorn School held Officer Appreciation Day, which was started by their principal, Frattini. The helicopter landed. The students read statements and handed out plaques and letters of appreciation to our town's police officers, representatives of the Essex County Sheriff's Office, and other instrumental people to our town's public safety. On Saturday, the Millburn High School class of 1967 dedicated a custom-made bench to the high school. It's installed as you walk right into the high school from the parking lot, and it says, "The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind." And there was a story that Bob Dylan's cousin lived in Millburn in the 60s, that's part true, and the myth was that he actually wrote this song, sold it to his cousin Bob Dylan, who was then sworn to secrecy and promised to never take credit. The story was actually in Newsweek, and Dr. Myron had showed me a copy of that. So this class of 1967, which included Phil Kirsch, I don't know where Phil is tonight, but he what? Oh, it was a protest. Well, I never knew that he was a Millburn High School graduate. Jackie and I are developing a relationship with the new executive director of the Paper Mill Playhouse. They are, as we are, interested in the Paper Mill expanding their outreach to many residents who may not be familiar with their programs outside of the shows. We brainstormed some exciting ideas for outreach and publicity. The Environmental Commission met, and they have scheduled 4 merchant roundtables to continue the conversation about banning the 3 plastic categories: single-use plastic bags, plastic straws, and styrofoam-type containers. I met with the owner of the ShopRites that our residents frequent, which is the Millburn, Springfield, and Livingston. He and his executive assistant will be attending one of their meetings, and he actually agrees that there's the overuse of plastics and their detrimental effects on the environment. As with everything else, it's complicated, and he looks forward to working with us and Springfield and Livingston. The Environmental Commission has planted native wildflowers at the corner of Lackawanna and Glen by the First Aid Squad, and this will help by beautifying that corner and also serve as a water retention basin. So I want to thank Elizabeth Volavon, the chair of the Environmental Commission, who's been envisioning this for many years, and thanks to DPW and Tom Doty for help getting the soil ready. The Joint 911 Dispatch met, all is well. They're fully staffed and training new hires. There's now an assistant director who will be available to attend town meetings of the 3 communities to talk about when an emergency is an emergency, and there's many times that residents do not have to call 911. Town Hall is working on updating the lighting ordinances to bring them up to date with modern times to acknowledge LED lighting. And we are looking for ways to streamline the process for applicants that have to appear for variances and permits. As it stands, the process we have heard from our landowners can be expensive, our property owners, expensive, time-consuming, and worst of all, a deterrent to getting new businesses in town. These are things we're trying to work on. Before the meeting tonight, I stopped at the library for the Art Appreciation Committee's gala that highlights the high school's AP art students and some other local artists. Please stop by. It's some amazing artwork, and it's only going to be there to the end of the month. There have been discussions, for those who have been coming to the meetings, regarding ineligible students in our school system. The Township Committee has received a request from several residents to consider an ordinance pertaining to ineligible students in the Millburn school system. At this time, there does not appear to be a need or a commitment to move forward on such a policy. If this should change, the committee may consider taking an action. At this time, the Township Committee will not spend further time on the matter. PACS met, and we're still targeting the first 2 corners in front of Bubble Tea and the lighting store, talking about how we can reduce that bump out, because that seems to be the biggest impediment to traffic flow. Some other ideas that maybe possibly some angled parking moving forward at that section. Also still trying to get a dedicated right turn lane in front of the lighting store, which will help ease that congestion. So Stantec, our new traffic consultant, has all the data. He put together all the numbers on how traffic flows, how pedestrians cross, where the troubles are. The light pole has been hit 5 times, and if you look at it from a certain angle, you can see it's actually tilted. So that's a safety hazard. So these are things we're looking at, and at our next PACS meeting, we will have more information with timeframes and possibly some estimates. Another reminder, next 2 Tuesdays, June 4th, is primary day. Please go out and vote. We have left some application for vote by ballot, vote by mail. So you can't do that for the primary, but you can do that in the future. There's registration information. There's the 2019 Voter Rights Handbook. So you are citizens. You should all take the opportunity to vote. It's very important. And I believe that's my report. Cheryl?
Okay, we had a meeting at the library on Monday night. So the big thing is the book sale, which is the week of June 10th through the 13th. The week of June 10th. On June 13th is a members preview. You can be a member of Friends of the Library. You can become a member of the Millburn Library for a reduced price, bargain price of $20. The members preview is from 6:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. The sale is Saturday, June 15th, and from 9:30 to 5 during library hours, and again on Sunday, June 16th, from 1 o'clock to 4:45 p.m. This summer there will be a little free library rack at the pool. This summer there's also going to be a Summer of Science, and on Thursday, June 6th at 6:30 p.m. will be that chemistry show. On Thursday, July 11th at 6:30 p.m. will be that physics show. On Tuesday, July 23rd at 6:30 is Supersonics. And Thursday, August 8th at 6:30 is that invention show. And that is my report.
Thank you.
So there's an update on marijuana. As of last Wednesday, Senate President Steve Sweeney announced that he would not post any further legislation to legalize adult use recreational marijuana on the Senate floor, New Jersey Senate. And on Thursday, 2 days from now, the Assembly was originally scheduled to put forth 3 bills. One an expungement bill, one was a decriminalization, and one was a third bill to expand the use of medical marijuana. As of late this afternoon, I spoke to Mike Serra, who's the Assistant Executive Director of the New Jersey League of Municipalities, and he informed me that the only bill that's going to go forward to the Senate is the expansion of the medical marijuana bill. It's also Senate President Sweeney also said that the recreational marijuana will be on the ballot in 2020, not 2019, because he believes that low voter turnout will impede the results, and will wait for 2020 to anticipate higher participation rates for the presidential election. I will be speaking with my fellow committee members regarding their thoughts, ideas, viewpoints regarding a non-binding referendum potentially on our ballot in 2019. That'll continue to be discussed over the next couple of weeks. A couple of other things, just a friendly reminder that Mill Wheel designs are due on May 24th, which is this Friday. I'm very happy to report that we have 5 submitted applications already, and I've had a straw poll of another 8 or 9, depending on that, have raised their hands and said yes, and they will have their applications in by the end of the week. So we're rolling along. No pun intended. One other item I'd like to mention is the farmers market. The first one will be scheduled for June 4th. We've got 5 new vendors along with our old standbys from last year, including an olive oil, a Mexican spice, an artisanal jam, and an organic sauces and produce vendor. The new hours, same location, will be 1 to 6. That's all.
Just want to commend you on, you've been working so hard on this farmer's market, so thank you. Well done.
Thanks.
Tara?
Yes, on May 21st, PTOC Safety met, and Millburn has achieved the gold status on Safe Routes to School, so that was an accomplishment. And they are all really excited about the possibility of a pedestrian safety advisory board being formed.
Okay, thank you.
So that's it.
Sam?
No reports.
Alex?
Just one report. Just encourage the community. Saturday, May 25th, the Memorial Day Parade starts at 10 a.m. Very excited to bring back this community event and hope everybody will be in attendance.
What time does it start?
10 a.m.
Where does it start?
Starts at the high school, ends at Taylor Park. We'll have a small ceremony in Taylor Park, and hot dogs and donuts and things like that. Strange combination, I know, but it's a weird time of day. But it will be options for everyone. So I hope everyone decides to come out and support the event.
Thank you.
No report at this time.
Okay. I'd just like to ask the committee, we did have a subcommittee that Jackie was on with Committeewoman Rosenberg that was kind of investigating this whole marijuana thing. Does the committee think that we should start that subcommittee up again and looking at what, if we're talking about a referendum, if we want to put it on our ballot?
If you want, I mean, looks like nothing's happening on
Well, if we
the
want to.
recreational marijuana.
But if we want to put a referendum on to kind of get our citizens, our residents' thoughts on where it should head if it's passed, we could just do a non-binding referendum.
Yeah, well, it would be non-binding regardless, but.
Right.
But why do you need a subcommittee for that?
Well, we had one and then we lost one of its
Well, you
members.
had one to sort of discuss what, I mean, yeah, but I don't know that you really even need us, I mean, it's up to you, but why, you could just ask somebody to draft some language if you want for a referendum, and then we can discuss it in open court.
Well, we'd have to know if there's favorite looking at a referendum, a non-binding for our, because that's good, we would need to know that by August. You have like 90 days
You
before.
want to know well
Oh, no,
before,
it-
because you want
No.
to be able to draft your language, discuss the language, have a whole open discussion about the language well before August, so, I mean, yeah, I mean, why not?
If I remember correctly, we ran this timeline. You're really pretty much up against it
Right.
to do anything in November. There are a number of steps leading up to that. So if you're thinking about putting something on the ballot in November of 19, it's really got to get going.
So how does the committee feel about putting that as a non-binding referendum?
I think it's a good idea
I
to do it.
too,
It
I
doesn't,
think we should reach out and see
Okay.
what the community thinks.
So we don't need a subcommittee, we need to start asking Kit to put language together?
Correct.
Sam, feelings? We have 1, 2, 3, 4. What do you think?
Putting a referendum on the ballot for an initiative that may or may not come to fruition in 2 years, I don't see the utility in doing that. It's asking for sort of an advisory opinion.
Exactly. And it doesn't cost anything to put a non-binding referendum question on the ballot, because the ballot goes out.
You could put 1,000 questions on the ballot that has the same cost, which is nothing. But the question is, what's the utility in doing it?
Well,
Well,
let's,
We don't know when, if ever, but it is possible that it can come up.
Well, based upon my conversation, it's more than, I think it's very much gonna be on the ballot in 2020. I mean, it seems from all indications that that's the goal of the administration, and they've spoken about that as being with a certain degree of certainty, if you would.
Well, that's anyone's degree of certainty about what may happen in 2 years politically is unknown. But
It's a year.
even if it did, it's not as if a law passes right after that. Legislation has to take place, and there's a million things that have to happen. And so the township has time to react to the extent that whatever then sitting committee elects to decide whether the town should opt out of whatever retail, which I assume this is where this discussion is going.
so there's 3 points.
The other point, when Jackie talked earlier, about why they're not putting it on the 2019 ballot, the referendum, is the concern about the dearth of voters, and get a relatively small turnout anyway. So the question is, in 2019, does it make sense if the fear is there gonna be such a low voter turnout anyway, or does it make sense if it's gonna be on the 2020 ballot to wait and see?
Well, I would be in favor of having our non-binding on our November, just to see what the word is, kind of get the pulse of the people who do come out to vote that day. It's still gonna be a sampling of our residents. So Kit, we're gonna instruct you to start some referendum language, please.
We'll discuss the question.
Well, we have to,
Yeah, we have to refine it. It has to,
Yes.
there are requirements for its neutrality and
Mhm.
all kinds of things of that sort, but yeah, we can start.
okay, thanks.
So do you want people walking around high like zombies in your town?
Yeah, that's
Is that the first question?
So,
Or-
I guess-
zombies allowed.
So I'm sure this has been on other ballots in other states, so I'd like to see what that looks like and whether or not the question is stratified, whether it be for a retail establishment, for growing, for processing, for distribution, right? Those are the 4 categories, I believe.
Okay, so we'll start that process.
Okay.
Thank you. County representative?
Good evening. Happy to report Parsons Hill Road is repaved. I know that it was very important to the community and the residents, and the county did prioritize, so we're happy that that's complete. The one report I have is Saturday, June 1st, is the annual Essex County Open House at Turtleback Zoo, and that event has free admission, so it's a great day for families to attend the zoo. Doors open, or gates open, I should say, at 10 a.m. And there'll be various departments and divisions from the county representative giving items out, little calendars and that sort of thing. So it's a good event for families to see the zoos, the exhibits, and learn about the different divisions within the county that provide services to the residents. If you have any questions, I'll take them now.
You and I briefly spoke about the high school. We spoke at that last time, and then also Upper Millburn Avenue, which was not part of that same high school repaving.
Correct.
Right.
That was done, that upper portion was done 7 years ago. From what I was told, that there were problems with that paving as well, but the plan is to hopefully get to redoing that at the end of the season, hopefully. If not, it will be done in the spring.
Okay, but it will definitely be slated on the list.
Yes, it's on the
Okay,
list.
thank you. Okay. Public comment. When invited to speak, please come to the lectern, clearly state your name and address, speak into the podium microphone so that your comments can be understood by all and properly recorded. Whenever an audience or committee member reads from a prepared statement, please give or email a copy to the Township Clerk's office at cgatty@millburntwp.org. To help facilitate an orderly meeting and to permit all to be heard, speakers are asked to limit their comments to 3 minutes. And as you know, we are putting you in charge of your own time. There's a clock that counts up. Please be respectful about that. And if anyone has a public comment, please speak up. Okay.
Janet Pizar, 186 Main Street in Millburn. I'd like to know why there's no consideration of posting a referendum for the taxpayers to decide if they would now like to fund some deconstruction for traffic expedience, whereby they funded for pedestrian safety. And I'd like to know why that's not considered vital in this community, that the taxpayers have a voice in this.
Well, I was not part of the original plan. I do not believe there was a referendum if the community wanted it.
It was necessary with 143 vehicle pedestrian hits.
Okay, let's not go over those numbers, Janet. I'll just speak briefly to the fact that we will have information brought to us from our engineer, and we will have public outreach sessions.
And
We are
might
not
that
doing this in a
change your
vacuum.
and might that change the mind, because you already said this will be accomplished.
I said
The
what
ch-
we're looking at.
No, you said this, and
No.
it will be accomplished, trimming the bump outs
Mm-hmm.
and also the extra lane on Millburn Avenue. And why were you in favor of a referendum for the modifications to flex parking and not this? Because the taxpayers also paid for the flex parking, and when you went and said maybe we'll do a reversal and rip it out, you were in favor of a referendum then. Why not now, since it was about pedestrian safety and now it's about traffic expedience, and the taxpayers are going to have to foot the bill for the deconstruction, whereby they footed the bill for the actual construction and the initial construction.
I can only say there was not a referendum to put this into play, and this is the procedure we're moving forward with. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else have any public comments? Seeing none, we'll move on. The committee will now consider consent agenda resolutions. The resolutions listed on the consent agenda for consideration are as follows. The bills list: adopt a health saving account plan and transportation fringe benefit fund as part of the Township Section 125 plan. Award professional service agreement, engineering services for channel reconstruction at Short Hills Garden Apartments. That's Suburban Consulting Engineers. Authorize execution of storm sewer indemnification agreement. Approval of sidewalk cafe licenses. And permit sidewalk sales during the month of June. This was something that used to be done by the DMDA, and we felt the merchants like that, and we will be able to still provide that service. Are there any comments from the committee or public in regards to any items listed on the consent agenda?
I
May-
move 19-130 through 19-135.
Thank you. May I have a second? Okay. Roll call?
Ms. Bernstein?
Yes.
Mr. Levy?
Yes.
Ms. Lieberberg?
Yes.
Ms. Prupus?
Yes.
Mary Eglo?
Yes.
Thank you.
Ms. Burstein is scheduled to read ordinance 2531-19.
I present for consideration an ordinance entitled Ordinance Number 2531-19, an ordinance authorizing acquisition by purchase or condemnation of an easement interest in a portion of the real property located at 2 Park Road, known as Block 1401, Lot 11. The ordinance is being proposed to authorize the acquisition of an irregularly shaped drainage easement interest, as well as a temporary construction easement at the western corner of property located in the township on which to locate pipes and related flood control equipment underground. The installation of the pipes and equipment will allow for improved stormwater management. This is based on recommendations of the township's engineering consultants, Schamer Engineering, which has determined that an improved stormwater management system would be facilitated by replacing the stormwater drainage system in the area of 1 Jefferson Avenue and 2 Park Road running beneath Old Short Hills Road. Tonight is the time set for the public hearing and final passage as advertised in accordance with law.
I declare the hearing open. Any comments?
I move that this public hearing be closed and the ordinance be adopted on final reading, and that the township clerk be directed to publish the ordinance by title as passed on final reading in accordance with law.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Bernstein?
Yes.
Mr. Levy?
Yes.
Ms. Lieberberg?
Yes.
Ms. Prupus?
Yes.
Mary Eglo?
Yes.
Thank you.
Ms. Prupus is scheduled to sponsor ordinance 2532-19. Okay, please. Oh,
Can I just ask a question? Sorry, before you start. I actually have some comment on the language. When do I make that comment? When she,
Of this?
yes.
Well, this is for
the first
introduction tonight, so
Right.
you could talk about it among yourselves, and if you have,
you're talking about the ordinance Tara's going to present?
Correct.
Oh, yeah, after, yeah, we'll definitely talk about it.
Ready?
Please.
Okay. I would like to present an ordinance entitled Ordinance Number 2532-19, an ordinance amending Chapter 2, Article 5 of the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Millburn to create a pedestrian safety advisory board. This ordinance is designed to create a 9-member pedestrian safety advisory board to advise Township Committee on issues affecting pedestrian safety consistent with the traffic issues management policy attached, adopted by Resolution 19-079 as amended from time to time. The Township Committee representative and the Township resident members of the board will serve on a voluntary basis for the terms of 3 years. The board, which shall meet at least quarterly, will investigate and analyze pedestrian safety issues, present recommendations regarding new initiatives and policies, and participate in appropriate town-wide pedestrian safety activities when authorized to do so. In discharging these functions, the board will in appropriate instances, be assisted by the township engineer, township planner, township engineer and consultant, or any other consultant or employee employed by the township to perform grant writing services, transportation analysis, data request, or related services. I move this ordinance to be taken up and passed on first reading, and that the township clerk be authorized to have the ordinance published in accordance with law in the item, and for hearing and final passage on Tuesday, June 18th, 2019.
You have some comments?
I had some comments on the language
Sure.
of the ordinance. I'm on
The actual ordinance?
the ordinance itself, yes. So, come on to page 3. Oh, no. The second page of the ordinance. Couple of questions. So the township, is the township committee representative, person from the township committee who's appointed by the township committee, going to be on for 3 years, or can the township committee choose the person each year? That's my first question.
We usually do that yearly,
Okay, but that's
appoint
not how
somebody.
it reads.
Okay, so that's
Okay.
important.
And the second thing is, it says that all residents are gonna have 3-year terms, but we also wanna stagger them. So.
Isn't that not in the body?
Well, it is, but it isn't. But when you look at this, it says one of,
Where are you, Cheryl?
I'm on paragraph 2.
Okay.
So the first paragraph talks about 3-year terms.
Mhm.
And the second paragraph then says, one of the township residents applying through volunteers shall serve an initial 3-year term, initial 2-year term, and then I think we should just add the language thereafter 3-year terms.
Well, I believe the folks who presented this to us wanted staggering terms.
Yeah, no, they should be staggered. But what
Okay.
happens is, so you serve for 1 year and then 3 years thereafter, so that, in other words, I just think you need to add thereafter it's a 3-year term, so that you, every year somebody changes, 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, 1 year, 2 year, 3 years.
Versus getting new people, a new 1-year person every year, you think
Right.
bump that person up to a 3-year?
Correct, well, that's the intent. The
I don't
intent-
think that was I think the intent was to get new people.
It doesn't have to be that person, but that
Yeah.
term.
I guess I'm not
okay.
following. Do you follow, Kit?
I think so. You, when it starts, we'll have this 1, 2, and 3.
But
And thereafter, everyone will
that
be for
seat
3.
will be, it doesn't have to be the resident himself. It would be, that seat would then be a 3-year seat.
I think that's stated by virtue of the fact that the township residents shall serve for a term of 3 years.
Okay. Okay.
It's just this first go-round
It's the
is
initial-
It's
staggered.
odd, the
Okay.
starting
Yeah.
point is difficult. Right,
All right,
okay, what else?
no, I'm good.
Oh,
Yeah,
you're good?
no. I have
Oh,
a
you're not
question.
good, oh,
I may be good, but I don't understand something.
Okay.
It's a comment with me, but on the premise, statement of purpose, it says that the Pedestrian Safety Advisory Board will quote, participate in appropriate townwide pedestrian safety activities, whatever that means, and when authorized to do so, whatever that means. Probably defined under 2-38.4, organizational structure where the board may adopt bylaws. Now, those bylaws have to be approved by the township committee. And so what does the township committee think about the board participating in appropriate pedestrian safety activities? That should be some direction to this putative board before it starts forming bylaws.
Well, I think the intent of this committee was that they would have these meetings, residents would be coming to them with their concerns.
Well, that's covered under their meetings and stuff, but it's not covered under, but I don't know what
What's appropriate?
participating in appropriate safety activities is. I
There
have no
are
idea
other
what that
meetings.
means.
There are other meetings, I believe that this was what it was about, where different people go to. Alex, do you
Well,
know?
people
And
can go
so-
because it's subject to sunshine here according to the ordinance anyhow, so they are open meetings, so that's already covered.
No, but there are other meetings that sometimes people go to on the county level about different traffic issues, and I think that that's what,
But if that's the case, who authorizes them to do so? So every time they want to go to a meeting, or anytime they want to do anything other than have an internal meeting, they have to come to the township committee and say, can
no,
you
that
authorize
doesn't make
us?
sense, it should just be.
Well, that's just what it says here in the preamble. So that's, my confusion lies in the preamble, which would be essentially codified in the bylaws, which have to be approved by the township committee, but this board would need some direction as to what that means, if anything. I don't have a rescue for this.
Oh, come on,
I'm
Sam.
not sure.
Could come up with one.
Come
but-
up with one.
The business of participating in other, actually this is townwide pedestrian safety activities, is something that's, authorized each time. It's not a matter that's set forth in the bylaws.
Okay, but then,
So,
well, that makes it more complicated. So who would authorize the board to take part in any safety activities, whatever that means?
Townwide pedestrian safety activities would be the township committee.
Okay, that, again, hence my question. I have to come here, like tonight, they come here and say, hey, Levy, do you mind if we go to this one activity? I mean, I want to avoid the board having to appear before the township committee and ask for permission to do something.
So what does this actually mean? Like, why was this put in there?
This is
don't we
largely
strike
out
this?
of
Because the town-wide, right,
This was largely the same as originally set forth, except that regional was changed to
but,
townwide.
but that's a
Why
big
don't we strike
difference.
this part of
The
the
regional,
preamble?
because the whole point was for people, these meetings that were not in the town, they were regional meetings
That's
with
what
more the
you-
county,
You
so,
and your colleagues are gonna have to,
Well, they're
Well,
only talking about township, I'm sorry, Cheryl.
but what kind of meetings are there? Are
Alex.
they meetings that where you're actually presenting on behalf of Millburn? Are they informational meetings that you're going to bring back information simply as a resident? I guess is part of the question.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't mind, I'm not sure whether authorization needs to be given in that regard if somebody wants to go to the Essex County Regional Pedestrian Safety or Bike Walk, group in Essex County and things like that. It may be wholly unnecessary in the preamble altogether.
in the preamble.
so can we take it out?
And is it under the functions as well?
Yes, it is.
Why don't we just put a period, Kit, I propose, after the word policies?
Correct.
And strike and participate in appropriate, et cetera.
Yeah, you can actually probably strike out the rest of that whole paragraph too, but you can leave it in as you wish.
I'm okay with doing that as
Yeah,
well.
I mean, I would strike out the rest of it and just leave a period after policies.
Well, that could be done, and then we'll take it out of the functions too.
But-
So we don't have to get township committee approval for the,
Well, anything they do has to go through the traffic
Of
policy.
course, but, and that's
Yeah.
in here.
Yeah,
It's in the body.
Right.
We're really talking about the preamble.
so where's the other part of functions in here?
well,
Oh, here it is, 2386.
number 3 is about the participation in appropriate townwide pedestrian safety activities.
Yeah, you can take that.
Okay,
Is that the consensus? Take out 3 and take it out of the preamble?
I would make that suggestion.
okay,
I would second that suggestion.
Is that agreeable?
that's agreeable. That's fine.
Okay.
Okay.
Policies, period. Okay.
Tara, you can move with reading number 2. Sponsor.
Okay. I move that this ordinance be taken up and passed on first reading, and that the township clerk be authorized, I read it already,
Are you read it already?
as amended. I'm gonna read it right, as amended,
Because it's been amended. So,
Got it.
yes.
yes, to have the ordinance published in accordance with law in the item and for hearing and final passage on Tuesday, June 18th, 2019.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Bursky?
Yes.
Mr. Levy?
Yes.
Ms. Lieberberg?
Yes.
Ms. Prupus?
Yes.
Mary Ethel Eggleston?
Yes.
Thank you.
Does any committee member have an item of old business they would like to discuss? Does any committee member have an item of new business they would like to discuss? All right, seeing none, may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Sam, you always want to leave so quickly. All right,
I'm
well,
doing a favor for the audience who strives to depart this meeting.